Buildings of this vast site in Port Talbot and in Tata Steel's other plants in the UK, 15,000 people are waiting to hear what will happen to their jobs. What they want is a new employer. There is no guarantee that will happen. And into this town this afternoon arrived one politician, the Labour leader, who today called for and had rejected a recall of Parliament and pleaded with ministers to keep UK steel production alive.
An awful lot of people in this country are looking very closely at this. They want to see government stepping up to the plate, accepting its responsibility to the entire community and intervening. Protect the plant, protect the jobs, but above all, protect the industrial infrastructure of this country.
Tata Steel employs around 15,000 workers in the UK. Most work at the company's three main steel-making plants, Port Talbot in South Wales, Rotherham in South Yorkshire and Scunthorpe in Lincolnshire. But there are also 7 other Tata Steel sites across the country currently at risk. They include Corby, Hartlepool and Shotton. And with so many jobs on the line, you might ask, why was the business secretary on the other side of the world? This was a dinner-jacketed Sajid Javid in Sydney today.
It's a real pleasure to be here in Australia tonight.
But the pleasure did not last very long. Minutes later, it was decided he should come home to deal with the steel crisis here.
My engagement in Australia is a long-standing arrangement, and it's actually part of my job to promote jobs and growth. I've always been absolutely clear that if it's necessary and helpful for me to be back in London to help with this and to help look at the options, that's exactly what I do, and that is why I'm cutting my trip short.
So what options will be on the table when the business secretary comes back? Tata may find a buyer, but current market conditions make that extremely difficult. That may mean the government will have to intervene, perhaps buying a stake or part nationalising the business while a solution is sought. A third option would be a buyout by the managers and staff, who have already proposed a turnaround plan which Tata yesterday rejected. That rejection and the decision to sell was made at a meeting here in Mumbai, where board members concluded they could no longer sustain their losses in Britain.
We aren't able to afford the level of support that is required. Given the support that we've already taken, we've taken impairments of about £2 billion in the last few years.
There will be a meeting in Downing Street first thing tomorrow, but the options for Tata Steel's UK business are neither easy nor will they be quick. Chris.
Well, the one thing workers wanted here was a settlement, a guarantee of their security. Instead, the status of this site is confused, and the owners, Tata, and the politicians can offer little in the way of clarity. And for the people of Port Talbot, they are afraid for their future.
The steelworks are under threat, but for now they're still firing. The torpedoes still carrying molten iron to turn into steel. But the heat in this plant, usually contained in the blast furnace, has spilled out. Workers are now battling for their livelihoods. A town is fighting for its future. Details on the fate of this site are sparse, and as the day began it was apparent that uncertainty fuels insecurity.
There was a lot of uncertain futures in there. People have been told they haven't got a job. It's terrible times, so yeah.
You know, there's a hard-working workforce in there, well qualified, well trained. You know, and to lose those jobs is devastating.
There's bound to be somebody out there who'll think there's an opportunity, even if you know, we slimline, we improve it, make it more attractive. You know, we've got to go through these. It's going to be rough.
It is 3 miles from one end of this site to the other. The footprint is vast, and so too are the issues faced by the thousands of workers dependent on a paycheck from this industry.
We thought that meeting yesterday was to talk about a turnaround plan, which our management had proposed, and apparently the outcome of it is to sell the whole of the UK business. And I think that's the overwhelming thing today. People are kind of shell-shocked. Do we really want to live in a country that can't produce its own steel for infrastructure projects, for defence? I just find it amazing that a country thinks it's acceptable to not have an industrial strategy, not have a manufacturing strategy.
Those who live and work here are looking to politicians for support. Ultimately, that will mean Westminster, as the Welsh Government do not have pockets deep enough.
Well, we've already put a financial package on the table. That will stay, but there will need to be a package from the UK Government as well there'll need to be private investment. I mean, we're talking about a substantial amount of money here. We don't have the resources ourselves to put the kind of package on the table that would be required.
Words will not do. It has to be action, say the unions.
The government has kept saying all the way through that, we will help, we will stand by you. David Cameron stood in the House of Commons and said, we will stand by steel. Please stand by steel then.
Steel production is still at the heart of this town, but with Tata describing it as a burden on their balance sheet, it is materially weaker today than it was yesterday. No one has yet called time, but equally, so far, there is no saviour. Rupert Evelyn.